Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what it's referring to. So it could be either one or two.
Yeah.
One of these two.
No, what we're saying here is that in the knowledge of Allah, so let's say in the book that is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Kitab, the Lawhul Mahfuz, right? So let's say we take an individual, right? His name is Abdullah, right? He's born in, let's say, 2000, right? And in the knowledge of Allah, this Abdullah will die in 2070. He will live for 70 years, right? And it is in the knowledge of Allah that this Abdullah, that he will die at 70, his lifespan will be 70, because through his life he took certain ways and means, right? He took certain ways and means. He did things, right, righteous deeds and whatever else, that made his life 70 years as opposed to 50 years, right? So all of that is in the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nothing is going to change in that. So his rizq is determined in the knowledge of Allah, in the book, in the writing, in the Lawhul Mahfuz. His lifespan, his righteous deeds, his evil deeds, and also the effect all of those things have on him as well, right? That's all written in the Lawhul Mahfuz, right? So what the Shaykh was explaining is that where we speak of this hadith where it says whoever wants his lifespan to be increased or his rizq to increase, let him do such and such, right? In reality, his lifespan isn't really going to increase or decrease, because his lifespan is already determined, right? It's going to be 70 years, right? But what's happening here is that in that hadith it mentions an action or a cause or a sabab, right? Which is keeping the ties of kinship, right? Allah has made that tied to an increase in a person's life, right? Just like, for example, if you eat poison, you're going to die. And if you don't eat poison, you're not going to die, right? So if someone eats poison, he's going to die at the age of 20, and he's not going to live till 70, right? So now, but it's already in the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what ways and means this person is going to take, what actions he's going to do. That's already in the ilm of Allah. Allah knows that Abdullah is going to die in 2070, right? Allah knows all of his actions and the impact of his actions upon this individual's lifespan and his rizq and everything else. So now what we said, that on Laylatul Qadr, what happens is that the angels, when they write the decrees for the following year, right? When they write those decrees are not written in the same way that they are written in the Lawhul Mahfuz, but they are written in a conditional sense. So in the Lawhul Mahfuz, it says, this Abdullah will do such and such and such and such, then we'll keep the ties of kinship, that will increase that will have an effect on increasing his lifespan, whatever. So all of those actions he will take and their effects upon him are all written up until he dies at the age of 70. Right? That's all written in the Lawhul Mahfuz. But then here, when the angels write down in the scrolls, in the Laylatul Qadr, then what they write down is that this person, if he does such and such, this will happen. Or if he does such and such, his lifespan will decrease. Or if he commits such and such a sin, his rizq will increase. Or if he does such and such righteous deeds, his life will increase by such and such, by whatever amount, whatever. So what they are given, what they have, is not the actual fixed, determined ilm that is with Allah. They are given things in a conditional sense, right? So now they have a writing with them. In this book it says, now this is Abdullah, okay, in this Abdullah, in the next year, right, if he does such and such, his life will increase by, a couple of years. And if he does such and such, his life will decrease by a couple of years, right? So this now is in the ilm of the angels. Right? So nothing is really changing except what is written down by the angels in the ilm of the angels. Right? If you think about it. Because when Abdullah increases the ties of kinship, right, that's already written in the Lawhul Mahfuz. Right? His life isn't really increasing beyond what Allah's already decreed it. Right? But what's happening is that those things he's acting upon are actually a means of his life increasing, because Allah created the asbab, Allah created the ways and the means, right? So yes, when he kept the ties of kinship, his lifespan did actually increase. It led to an increase in his lifespan. His lifespan was 70 as opposed to being 50 if he didn't keep the ties of kinship. It's just like saying, if Abdullah ate poison at the age of 40, he died at 40, right? So the fact that he didn't take the poison led to his life increasing to 70, right? That's exactly what it means, and that's written in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, that Abdullah was given a choice, to eat poison. He did eat the poison, right? And so he lived up until the age of 70. So the asbab, the ways and the means in between, right, they are written in the Lawh al-Mahfuz as well, right? And so what's really happening is that as it relates to the ilm of Allah, no one's lifespan is increasing or decreasing. Everyone's lifespan is at the appointed time, right? But because we affirm the ways, the asbab and the ways and the means, right? Then, like if I said to you, if you eat healthily, you will live longer. Is that not true? Of course it is, right? If you eat poorly, you won't live longer. If you eat bad, if you eat harmful things, if you eat bad, whatever, then obviously that will have an impact on your health, and you will die from disease earlier, and you won't live that long. So, is all of this correct or not? Of course it's correct. So we know that the ways and means and the actions that we perform, right, they clearly have an impact upon our lives, on the age of the life, and the quality of the life. All of this has a definite impact, right? So this shows that the increase and decrease in life is something that is true and real, and there are reasons behind it, like eating well, not exposing oneself to danger, not doing dangerous things, doing those things in the Sharia, like keeping the ties of kinship, having taqwa. All of these things actually really do increase a person's life, right? Because these are from the asbab and the ways and the means that Allah have made to have such an effect, right? So on the one hand, we accept that life can increase and decrease because of the asbab and the ways and means. But on the other hand, in Allah's ilm, all of that is known and written already. That this servant will do such and such, he won't do such and such, he won't do such, and the effect all of that will have on his lifespan. But when we're speaking of this hadith, and Allah erasing something and confirming something, right, this is what the angels have written down now. Right? So the angel has with him that in this year, if this servant does such and such and such and such and such, then his life will increase by 6 months. Just by way of example. And if this person does such and such, that's what they have with them. Right? Whereas with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His ilm is complete and everything in the book is complete. Right? So now, it's already in the ilm of Allah that Abdullah will actually do such and such. He will keep the ties of kinship. Right? That's already in the ilm of Allah. And his life will therefore increase. Right? So his life will increase by way of the actions that he performed. Right? It will be 70 as opposed to something else. So, when we say that what is with the angels, that when they write that down, and when we say that Allah erases something and confirms something, that's what the angels write down. So I don't know whether that's made anything clear or not, or...
So could we say it's like the angels, Allah's given the angels the ways and means of what would all be in the Lawh al-Mahfuz?
Yeah. Allah already knows what ways and means a person is going to use, right? But to the angels, like if this person, in this year, if he exposes himself to some danger, if he jumps off a bridge, for example, into a river, and dives into a river, then his lifespan will be cut short. And if he doesn't do that, then his lifespan will be increased, right? And if this person keeps the ties of kinship, then his lifespan will be increased. And if he doesn't, that's what the angels have with them. In other words, this person will die if such and such, right? And this person won't die if such and such. Right, they have this. This is what the angels have. They don't have the actual ilm which is in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, right? So then a person will do, if he does that thing that's written in there, then that decree that is in the angel with the angels, then obviously that decree now is confirmed, right? So is there anything of it that's not clear? Yeah.
50,000 years
Yeah.
before the creation.
Yeah.
That 50,000 years isn't the same as a 50,000
No,
years.
no, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah.
Is there
It's
an
different.
indication of how?
We don't know what the measure of time is for that. Ibn Taymiyyah mentions in one of his books, Dar al-Ta'arud al-Aql wal-Naql, in this book, he discusses this issue and he says that that measurement of time of 50,000 years is by some other created bodies that we don't know of. Just like our measurement of time, the month, the year, is known by the phases of the moon and whatever else. And likewise, that 50,000 years is another measurement of time, and Allah knows best what its basis is. But Ibn Taymiyyah says that there are some other bodies in existence, right, through which their motion, there's a measurement of time, and Allah knows best what that is. He mentions that in Dar al-Ta'arud al-Aql wal-Naql. So in reality, a person's lifespan, see, this is where our discussion of the asbab comes in, right? The Salaf, they used to make this statement. They used to say that to deny the asbab, in other words, to deny that the ways and means are in fact ways and means, which means, for example, to deny the fact that water quenches thirst, right? That this is a deficiency in aql. This is a deficiency in reason. And then they said to rely purely on the asbab alone, right? So to depend only on the ways and means, like for example, yes, if I work, I will become rich, right? Meaning just because of the effort that you put in. No, because this comes down to many other issues which are in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to think that the asbab in and of themselves, on their own, is going to give you what you want, this is like a type of shirk. Al-iltifat ila al-asbab, shirk. Right? So to turn and depend only on the asbab, this is now shirk. And then to reject the asbab altogether, and to say, no, I'm not going to take the ways and means. Right? So no, I'm not going to work to earn a living. I'm not going to do such and such. I'm not going to eat to be healthy. To deny them altogether, this now is a revilement upon the Sharia. You're reviling the Sharia because the Sharia has come and told you to use the asbab. The Sharia has told you to use the ways and means. To use medicinal treatment if you are ill. Right? Because they are from the ways and means. To earn a living through the ways and means which are halal. So all of these are from the ways and means. Right? So to deny them is a revilement of the Sharia because the Sharia commanded them. So the point that we're making is that when we speak of this topic, the asbab, the ways and the means, right, they are part and parcel of al-qadr. Right? And by way of them we understand the issue of al-qadr. So when we say, for example, that Abdullah, if he ties the ties of kinship, he will live for 100, like the example that Ibn Hajar gave, he will live to 100, and if he doesn't, he will live to 60, right? This in itself is true because we affirm the effect of the asbab. The ways and means are true and real, right? So, if you ate poison, you're going to die, right? If you don't eat poison, you're not going to die. Right? If you put your hand in the fire, your hand's going to burn. And if you don't, it's not going to burn. So the asbab have a true and real effect. Likewise, eating food, healthy food, eating bad food, all of this has an actual effect upon a person. So when we say that in the Lawhul Mahfuz, a person's written to live for 100 years, written amongst all of that is every single sabab or way or means that he took, that's part and parcel of him living for 100 years. So he did such and such, he was a righteous person, he did righteous actions, he kept the ties of kinship with all his family, he ate good food, he had fresh water, he had fresh air, he kept happy all the time. All of these things are ways and means which are true and real and actually have a real effect, because Allah made him like that. Allah made him to be like that. Right? And all of that is part and parcel of him living to 100 years, which is written in the Lawhul Mahfuz. Right? So in one sense, no one's lifespan increases or decreases from the point at which his time is to come. Right? He will live for 100 years. Right? But he lived to 100 years because he took certain ways and means that had an effect in him living 100 years. Do you understand? That's why we can say at the same time, without any contradiction, that a man's lifespan never will go beyond what is written for him. However, he took ways and means that led to his life being that long. Right? His life actually did increase. Right? He ate the right food, he drank fresh water, he took fresh air, he avoided danger, he always kept himself happy, he had patience, sabr on all the decrees that came to him, he didn't fall into stress, he didn't panic, whatever. All these ways and means, he kept, mixing with his family, his children, whatever. He had a good environment. All those things actually had an effect on his life being that long. So his life did increase, but it didn't increase. Do you understand? We can say this because we believe in the asbab. The ways and means and the asbab have an actual effect. Right? So we don't see any contradiction in saying that. In saying that a man, he will live to 100 and he will never live past 100. But this man actually had his life increased because of the ways and means he used whilst he was alive. And likewise to another person, we can say that it was decreed in Allah's knowledge, this man will live till 50. Right? And he will live to 50, he will die at 50 because he died of a heart attack. Why did he die of a heart attack? He died of a heart attack because of stress, because of eating bad, terrible food, of whatever. Right? So his life was actually decreased, but it wasn't decreased, if you know what I mean. Right? How can we say this at the same time? We can say this at the same time because we believe in the asbab, the ways and means. His life decreased because he had bad food, he had stress, and all the other things that actually did cause his life to decrease. But it didn't decrease from what Allah decreed it to be. Allah decreed this person to die at the age of 50, and He decreed upon him all the asbab and the ways and means in between that will lead to him dying at that particular age. Right? You understand? So that maybe will make it a bit more clear as to what we understand here. And as for what the angels have, when the angels have what they have, then as we said, it's like in mu'allaq, it's like conditional, it's like suspended, and so they don't have the full. That is with the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that which is in their knowledge, that can be confirmed, blotted out, or Okay, any other questions on that topic? Yes, yeah, that's right, yeah. So the question from a young boy, what's your name? Bilal. How old are you? Okay, so the question from Bilal, 11-year-old boy, good question. He said, so does that mean that therefore your actions determine what your life? And the answer is yes. This is what we're discussing, yeah. That whatever actions you perform, things like righteous deeds, good deeds, being good with your parents, being good with your relatives, being good with your cousins and so on and so forth, and keeping ties with them, visiting them, whatever else, this actually does have an effect it's something that contributes to your life being the length that it is. Right? And likewise, there are many other things, other ways and means as well that you can take. Yeah.
Perhaps another way to look at it is that we should have been called by the angels on a yearly basis. The schools those are the schools that we presented in front of you, which was us about on the Day of Judgment. So it's kind of evidence to exactly what you did and do.
Yeah.
To obtain that, which obviously Allah has already knowledge of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's to do with a person's deeds being recorded. Right, so the scrolls that the angels write who write his deeds, that's something else. Yeah, this is a separate issue. This is the angels writing his deeds, which will be his scroll on Yawm al-Qiyamah, which will be like a witness against him. Right, it will be one of the numerous forms of witness against him. Right, so his own soul will be a witness against him. His limbs will be a witness against him. The scrolls the angels wrote will be a witness against him. All these things will serve as a witness against an individual. So that writing of what the angels write as his deeds, that's just a record of his deeds. That's got nothing to do with the issue of al-Qadr. About the writing of the angels that we are speaking about is the Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr. That when they write down the decrees for the following year. Yes, so there's a question from Baltalk. If I do bad deeds, will that affect my lifespan? It comes back to the issue that we mentioned earlier on, and the hadith that we mentioned, where the Prophet said that indeed a person is prevented from rizq by way of a sin that he commits. Right? So deeds actually have an effect on your lifespan, but that effect is already written in the Lawhul Mahfuz. Right? So it is written that a person will do evil deeds, and those evil deeds are, in turn have an effect upon that individual, upon his rizq, upon his lifespan. So the answer is yes. And the answer to this comes back down to the issue of understanding the topic of the asbab, the ways and the means. That the ways and the means, they actually have an effect on an individual. So yes, you commit sins, that actually does affect your life. It doesn't mean that your life as written in the Lawhul Mahfuz will become longer or shorter, because that's fixed. It's fixed. But it means that the deeds you are doing will actually have an effect on your life. And that's part and parcel of Al-Qadr. Because Al-Qadr is the asbab as well. Right? Remember, Al-Qadr is Allah's knowledge of everything that will happen. And whatever happens, happens by way of the asbab. By way of the asbab. To put it another way, another example is, how did you come into existence? You came because you were born. How were you born? Right? You were born by way of your parents. Right? So you came about through asbab. There were ways and means that led to you coming to be. Right? So we believe in the effect of the asbab, and that's really the key to understanding this whole discussion of Al-Qadr. Al-Qadr on the one hand, the decrees, and the asbab that Allah has created which have effects. They have effects. So inshallah, okay, just a quick question from Paltalk. Can we just quickly list some in bullet points how you can increase your life? Well, again, as we said, your life will not increase beyond what is written in the Lawhul Mahfuz. Right? So that is the knowledge that is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, we have been ordered to take the ways and the means, which we call the asbab. And the asbab are part and parcel of Al-Qadr. To follow the ways and means are part and parcel of Al-Qadr. So what are the ways and means that the Messenger has mentioned that will lead to an increase in life and sustenance? Then from them is the hadith that we mentioned, that a person keeps the ties of kinship. That you keep the ties of kinship. In another hadith it is mentioned that a person, he has taqwa. That a person he does righteous deeds. In fact, these two are mentioned in the same hadith. Keep the ties of kinship and do righteous deeds. Now, these two, which are mentioned by the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to help a person increase his lifespan. Even though Allah knows when he will die, and his lifespan will never increase, if he takes these actions, then they are part and parcel of him living to the age that he is decreed to live at. Do you understand? It's very similar to the issue of saying, Allah knows whether a person is in paradise or hellfire, but then you have to do the actions. So Allah knows if a person is in paradise, but then unless you do the actions of the people of paradise, you will not go to paradise. So you must do the actions of paradise. So likewise, Allah knows at what point you will die. Allah knows at what age you will die. Then you have to use the ways and the means and all of that. And from those ways and means, as we mentioned, is to keep the ties of kinship, to do righteous deeds. And then there are other things like the worldly asbab that we said, to eat healthily and to take all of the ways and means in terms of health, eating healthily, and the other things that we know in the worldly sense. All of these are part and parcel of a person living to the age that he's going to live, to avoid stress and to eat healthy, nutritious food and to avoid bad food and whatever else, all to avoid pollution, to avoid things that harm. All of this is part and parcel of the ways and means that we've been ordered to use, right, for our benefit. And all of that is in the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we've been ordered to take these ways and means. So inshallah we'll conclude our lesson here today. And